So we're still in the process of learning about the police shooting that left Daunte Wright dead in Brooklyn, Minnesota. Not Brooklyn, New York, Brooklyn, Minnesota. And yesterday, police had a press conference about it. One of the strangest police press conferences I've ever seen. In the middle of it, the Brooklyn Police Chief Tim Gannon just walked out. He later returned. There were questions as to why did he leave, and the answers were very strange. What we know is that police shot and killed a black man on Sunday during a stop for a traffic violation. There have been protests. There has been unrest. I've looked at the video of the shooting, which we will not be playing here, but you can find it online. We know that the officer announces that she will be tasing, but then she pulls out her gun and shoots the individual. Apparently, and this is the case that you will see made during this press conference, mistaking her gun for her taser, which is immediately raising questions about how could that be called an accident if you are a police officer. It's your sort of main thing to know. Do I have a taser in my hand or do I have a gun? Are these my handcuffs or is this a soda? But we're going to get to that. The man killed by police was identified by relatives and by Minnesota Governor Tim Walz as Daunte Wright, 20 years of age. NBC reports that the state mobilized the National Guard when crowds gathered in front of the Brooklyn Center Police Department on Sunday evening. A curfew was ordered. It's been chaotic. Let's get into the clips. One of the strangest video police press conferences that I've ever seen. Here's the first part where Chief Tim Gannon says, listen, the officer announced a taser but drew her handgun. That sort of seems like the officer meant to tase Daunte Wright, not shoot Daunte Wright.
As you can hear, the officer, while struggling with Mr. Wright, shouts, taser, taser, several times. That is part of the officer's training prior to deploying a taser, which is a less lethal device. That is done to make her partners aware, as well as the subject, that a taser deployment will be imminent. During this encounter, however, the officer drew their handgun instead of their taser. For informational purposes, we train with our handguns on our dominant side and our taser on our weak side. So if you're right-handed, you carry your firearm on your right side and you carry your taser on the left. This is done purposefully and is trained. As I watch the video and listen to the officer's commands, it is my belief that the officer had the intention to deploy their taser, but instead shot Mr. Wright with a single bullet. This appears to me, from what I viewed and the officer's reaction in distress immediately after, that this was an accidental discharge that resulted in the tragic death of Mr. Wright.
So the officer yelled taser and was distressed. So therefore, it was an accident. And that's the statement from the police chief. Now, what the police chief calls an accident by the law could be manslaughter. And this has been ruled a homicide. Remember, homicide can be murder, but it can also be manslaughter. Brooklyn Center, Minnesota Police Chief Tim Gannon was asked, did you authorize the use of tear gas and rubber bullets during the protests? He essentially says yes.
Was it your decision to release tear gas and to shoot rubber bullets at the young protesters?
Sure. I'm the police chief in this city. Police action is made by me. The decision is made by me. Does that answer your question?
Then a reporter says, if the reason for the stop was not having a license plate or having an expired license plate, are you aware that there's currently a multi-month delay on license plates here? And the police chief just walks out of the press conference.
Significant delay. Are you aware that there's a significant delay in getting tabs and things of this nature from the DMV? So even people who have purchased tabs are unable to get them because there's a 2 to 3 month backlog. Are you aware of that? And is your staff also aware of that? And have you made any type of recommendations to your staff to be mindful that we're in the middle of a pandemic and don't pull people over for tabs, particularly because there is a significant delay in getting those tabs from the Department of Motor Vehicles? Are you aware of that?
I am aware of
Chief
that.
Police.
I am aware of that.
Is your staff aware of that?
Yes, they are. That was the last question. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Mayor, may I ask you, in that video, the female officer clearly made a fatal mistake.
So this was very abrupt, bizarre. He just walks off, and the Brooklyn city manager appears to be unable to explain why that happened.
Mr. Mayor, when I asked that question about the firing of the police officer, the police chief left.
Yeah,
What is that an indication of? Is he dealing with something perhaps more important, or is that some type of silent protest? Because he left immediately.
immediately.
I can't speculate.
Mr. Mayor, you have a comment?
I do not know why the excuse me.
Does that bother you without knowing why that he just walked out?
I do not know why the chief left. I can only speculate as to why he left at the time that he did.
Does it bother you?
What would your speculation be?
I don't have any speculation. I mean, it's possible that the chief takes a position perhaps similar to the city manager, that there needs to be some kind of a process, or I don't know.
I can only speculate, and I believe from the amount of coffee I saw him chug, he needed to empty his bladder. Like, how odd is all of this stuff? Now, then here is where it gets even crazier. The police chief comes back. Did someone tell him off screen, that looked terrible, get back out there? So he's back, and then he says the officer needs due process.
Yes, sir.
Chief, may I ask you directly as I asked the mayor? Do you believe the officer who fired this fatal shot, and I understand there's due process, we get that, but ultimately she shot and killed a 20-year-old man. The mayor has indicated she should be terminated. What's your position on that?
My position is that officer afforded due process just like anybody else does. She has the right to be heard. She has the right to give her statement. She has the right to tell what she felt, what she thought. Not what I thought, not what I saw, but what she thought and that may have an impact. She's on administrative time out.
Can you tell us the
She will not be returning to duty until this investigation has run its course. And she, for all intents and purposes, I think we can look at the video and ascertain whether or not she'll be returning.
So can you tell us?
So everything the chief says there is correct. Of course, the officer does get due process. They should be on administrative leave, and they are. That's not the issue. The issue is more this guy's bizarre attitude, demeanor, walking out, walking back in. Now, I'm already getting a ton of emails from people saying, this officer is going down. This is clear manslaughter. They're going down for manslaughter. Others saying they're not getting anything here. I'm going to give you my both non-legal expert and cynical opinion about this case. I believe that this officer will not be found guilty of any criminal wrongdoing. I think that you will either see, as far as criminal goes, something settled, resolved, an agreement before this ever gets to trial, or if it goes to trial, you will see an acquittal, and you will see a civil settlement for big bucks with the family of Daunte Wright. Why do I say this? There's no question that if you mean to tase someone and you pull out a gun and you kill them, that's manslaughter, colloquially speaking. But the way that police shootings are handled in the legal system, with the taser warning, they're already pulling the games of, well, this is someone who had a run-in. He had I think it was a warrant for some minor drug-related thing. They're going to pull out all the games that they normally do. I'm not giving you my moral opinion. I'm giving you simply my prediction. I think that we will see no guilty verdicts criminally for this officer, and likely a big financial settlement with the family. It's going to be a long time. It could be years before we ever get to that resolution. But that's my sense at this point in time. Tell me your thoughts. If you ever feel like you just don't have enough time to read all the books you want to read, you have to check out one of my favorite apps called Blinkist. Blinkist takes thousands of popular nonfiction books and distills each one down into an ebook or audiobook that you can get through in just 15 minutes, where you're getting all the key takeaways from the book. Just imagine how you'll be able to expand your horizons and knowledge by being able to soak up all of the important insights from 10 different books in an afternoon. Obviously, it's perfect for exposing yourself to a new book, you otherwise wouldn't have time for, or you can use it to revisit a book you've already read, or use it to preview a book before you buy the full version and read it. I recently read A Brief History of Time, of course, by the great Stephen Hawking. This is a book that I have been aware of for so long, and other things got in the way, and it was fantastic to check it out on Blinkist. Blinkist has books on politics, philosophy, science. They have 27 different nonfiction categories, and a subscription is only about $8 a month, and you get the entire library. But you can try it totally free and get 25% off a subscription when you go to Blinkist.com/Pakman. I've put the link right underneath this video.